Okay, so our today's topic is non-routine decisions, and I'm going to share the screen so that we can be able to follow the discussion. Thereafter, discuss the questions. So non-routine decisions is the topic that we are discussing now. We change this one here. And when we talk about non-routine decisions, these are decisions which are not frequently made in a company. So we don't keep on making them every now and then, but once in a while they are made, and we are saying that they have an impact on the entire company. So these are decisions that we don't keep on making every now and then, but they have an impact on the entire company. So these decisions include product mix decisions. They include what we call special pricing, make or buy, drop or retain, further processing decisions, and replacement analysis. Now, in our discussion, we are going to go through all these except further processing. That's more in management accounting, and replacement analysis. That's more in financial analysis. Many years before they changed the syllabus several times, we used to teach everything, but now they have they have made further processing to be more in management accounting and replacement analysis to be in financial management. Now, when making these decisions, the relevance of the cost must be observed. And when we talk about the relevance, we are talking of the ability to influence a decision. The ability to influence a decision or the ability to be influenced by a decision. That's what we call relevance. Now, in this case, the costs are usually classified into two. We have those which we call relevant and those which we call irrelevant. Now, relevant are the ones which have the ability to influence a decision, or they have the ability to be influenced by a decision. What we mean by that is that when you make a decision, that cost must be considered for that decision to be implemented successfully. For example, if you want to move from your house to town, and assuming you're using a matatu, you must consider fare. Otherwise, assuming again you cannot walk to town. Otherwise, failure to consider whether you have fare or not may make you not to get to town. So fare is a relevant cost as far as the decision of going to town is concerned, and many other instances. Now, this must be considered when making a decision in order for the decision to be successfully implemented. I think I've already explained that. Now, this cost, you will not find a question that tells you that the following are the relevant costs. But what the examiner does, or what we do in management accounting, we use various words that reflect or that refer to relevant cost. And these words are marginal, variable, specific, incremental, and differential. So when you see these words anywhere in the question of decision-making, they are talking about relevant costs. Then we have those which are irrelevant. Now, these are costs which will not be affected by the decision or do not have to affect the decision. For example, something like lunch costs, when you are considering this morning to go to town, it has nothing to do with you are going to town. Yeah. Not unless you tell us that for me to go to town, I must take lunch at town. Maybe you spend the whole day there. Then that can make it relevant. But if it's not a must to take lunch there, that becomes irrelevant. It is not going to affect your decision. Now, again, these ones are described using very many words. We use the word fixed. We use the word direct, rather indirect, overheads. But we also have variable overheads. It's good to note that. Then we use the word general, the word sunk, the word historical, the word past, the word apportioned, the word allocated. So you can see this one has very many words. Now, the following principles are used in judging the relevance of the three elements of cost. The following principles are used in judging the relevance of costs. Number one, materials. materials cost, direct materials cost, direct materials costs, to change this, direct materials costs. Now, if the materials that you want to use are not currently available in the store, the relevant cost is the future purchase cost. For example, this morning, if you want to wake up and make tea in your house and you don't have milk, assuming you take milk, then for you to make that decision, the cost of milk becomes a relevant cost, which is now the purchase cost, because you'll have to go to the shop and buy milk. But if that milk is already available in the store or in your kitchen, then number two, we are saying the original purchase price is irrelevant. As you wake up this morning and decide whether to make tea or not, the cost of the milk that is already in your fridge, it is irrelevant, because whether you make tea this morning or you don't make tea this morning, the amount of money you paid to buy that milk previously, it will not come back to you. The incidence cannot be reversed. The other thing is that if that milk has been kept there, so that maybe it can be used in the afternoon to make something else, and you are deciding whether to use it this morning to make tea, then the cost of replacing that milk in the afternoon, because if you use it this morning to make tea, then in the afternoon, you will have to buy another packet of milk. So the cost of buying that packet of milk in the afternoon is the one that you should think about this morning as you decide whether to use that packet of milk to make tea. The other one is, if, for example, it is like the garbages that we normally hold in our house. I'm just using the household examples for clarity and easy understanding. Now, we all have garbages in our houses and we pay the garbage collector. Some of us pay like 200 shillings when he comes. Now, if you have already agreed with your garbage collector that you are going to pay him when he comes for them, but a few minutes before he comes, your neighbor tells you that you would wish to have those garbages. Maybe he has some animals that can make use of that garbage. And now you are there deciding whether to release the garbages to your neighbor or to wait for the garbage collector. What should come to your mind is the disposal cost, the amount of money that you want to pay your garbage collector. And when you have given the garbages to your neighbor, that becomes a gain. We call it consumer surplus, because you had already prepared to pay the garbage collector. And now that you have given the garbages to your neighbor, it means you will save. You will not pay the garbage collector. It's a consumer surplus. It's like an example of maybe you are traveling in A.M.A and someone decides to pay for your fare without having asked them to pay for you, without having expressed any inability to pay for your own fare. But for their own reasons, they decide to pay for your fare. It is a gain. The other thing is if that item that you are considering to use, for example, your maziwa, maybe you operate a kiosk and that milk was meant to be sold. Now, if it was meant to be for sale, and now this morning you are deciding whether to use it to make tea or not, what should linger in your mind is the cost of selling, the selling price. That's what you should think about. Now, the next thing is direct labor costs. When it comes to direct labor costs, we are saying number one, if there is already excess capacity, direct labor cost is irrelevant. You see, like now in this class, the way I'm teaching you is the way I would have taught you if you are 10 times. So my salary remains the same. So if we are considering admitting new students to this class, my salary is irrelevant because we are already having an idle capacity. We can teach even more without additional cost. Then if there is no idle capacity, if I cannot be able to teach you, and this one is more used where even in our technology, the online has come to dispute this argument so much because now we are not limited to the physical capacity, but where we are having a physical room, the classrooms, or the physical premises in the workplace, they are confined or they are fixed. This now makes a lot of sense. So if we cannot have, or we don't have the excess capacity, then what we need to do is to hire another teacher. For example, if there is another subject that is to be taught, then we need to get another teacher. So the cost of getting that other teacher is what we call the relevant cost, and is what the new students that want a new teacher should pay. On the other side, if it is not possible to get another teacher and we don't have an extra capacity, what now we will think about is the cost of that labor plus the opportunity cost. Because what will happen, I'll be told, instead of teaching your normal class on Sunday, you go and teach another class. So my students who are used to be taught on Sundays, they will complain. And when they complain, they may run away. Now, when they run away, the money that they were to pay will be lost. And I will be telling you that in business, we don't see people as human beings, but we see them as money. So when I look at you, I don't see you as a student, as a physical human being, but I see you as 22,000. So when you are running away from us or from me, then I don't see you running away. I see 22,000 running away. So that is why we are saying the normal cost plus the opportunity cost. Some people may have a problem with that language, but eventually it comes to work for their good, because you're saying when you look at people as money, you eventually have money, because all of us will have money. And you know what we do to people that we love. We take good care of them. We ensure that they are comfortable, they are happy. We protect them. So when you look at your customers as money, then eventually you love them, you take good care of them, you ensure they're happy, they are well protected. And when that is done, then the customer goes home satisfied. So don't take offense when I say that we look at you as money. Eventually it works best for the customer. Then we have what we call overheads, and we are saying variable overheads are relevant costs. That one is direct, but fixed overheads are generally irrelevant. But if they change because of the decision, the proportionate change is a relevant cost. So those are the general principles. So let's now look at the first type of decision, which is called product mix decisions. Now, these are decisions which are made in situations where resources are scarce to determine which product and how many units should be produced. The resources are scarce to determine which product and how many units should be produced to generate maximum profit. Now, the number of products and the units that will be produced to generate maximum returns is called optimal product mix or optimal production mix. Yeah. Now, the scarce resource or the scarce resources are known as key factors or limiting factor or principal budget factors. It has three names. You can call it key factor, you can call it a limiting factor, you can call it a principal budget factor. Now, there are three things that we need to consider, three methods that are used. Number one is called fact principles. Now, this one we use it where we have at least one product to be produced. That means you can produce one or more, but the key factor is just one. It's just one key factor. We have what we call advanced fact principles. Now here, we use it when we just want to produce one product, but we are faced with more than one scarce resources. Linear programming, we use it where we can produce at least one or more, and we have more than one constraints. Now, linear programming is no longer part of advanced management accounting, but if you came across QA, then you remember how to solve linear programming. So this one, we will not discuss it here because it is not examinable in this paper. Now, let's look at the first principles. So first principles, as we have said, it is where we can produce more than one unit, or more than one product, and we are only faced with one key factor. So the following steps are followed. Number one, we compute the contribution margin per unit of each product. Number two, we identify the units of the key factor required to make 1 unit of each product. Then we compute the contribution margin per unit of the key factor for each product. Then we rank the products using the results in step 3. And then we allocate the available quantity of the key factor of the product according to the lands. So that is how we go about it. And now I want us to look at that question of June 2010. So let's get there. June 2010. June 2010. Question number 1. Kerubo, have you seen it? You read for us.
June 2010, question number 1. Part B or part A? Or both?
Read both.
A, describe the key conversations that should be applied in presenting information for product mix decisions when capacity constraints exist. Number 2, B, Lengo Limited manufactures 3 products, namely A, B, and C. The data below relates to the 3 products. You're given the data. Additional information: highly skilled labor is required for installation for the 3 products in the consumer's premises. A maximum of 25,000 hours of highly skilled labor are currently available at 8 shillings per hour during the production period. Fixed costs for the production period are 8 shillings per hour during the production period. Fixed costs for the production period are for 50,000 shillings. The maximum demand for products A, B, and C are 2,000 units, 3,000 units, and 1,800 units respectively. Required: the current shortfall in highly skilled labor at maximum demand, the optimal production mix, and the resultant profit. Suppose that an increase in the labor rate per hour to 12 shillings for the highly skilled installation labor would provide adequate labor at maximum demand. Determine if it is worthwhile to increase the labor rate.
Okay, thank you so much. That's good, Kerubo. Now the first part A says, we describe the key consideration. It should be key consideration. I hope that is how it is reading. Let me see in my notes. Describe the key consideration. Oh, I did not put that. Okay. In your handout, it should read key consideration, not key conservation. And what we are supposed to consider is what we have called. Let me show you the answer there. Let me show you the answer there. It is very direct. The answer to part A is this one. This one. What we have called contribution margin per unit of the key factor. So that is the answer. Contribution margin per unit of the key factor. That's the answer to part A. Yeah, just that and you get 4 marks. It is the one that we use to determine, because you can see when we are coming now to step 4, we are saying that we will use the results in step 3. And then after we have ranked, then we allocate the resources. So the key consideration is the contribution margin per unit of the key factor. So that is the answer. Now, coming to part B, we are told to calculate the current shortfall in the skilled manpower. So if we are comparing that, or if we are computing that, the examiner has already hinted to us. The examiner has already hinted to us what is the key factor. And in this hint, we are already told it is the skilled labor. So for the skilled labor, we will have the details. Then we will have labor hours. Now these labor hours, we are going to have several. One is per unit. And then total. Then total. Unit and then total. So if we have product A, to get per unit, you can see the skilled labor is the one that is required for installation. So we are going to say it is 24. You divide by 1 hour inalipwa 8 shillings. So 24 divided by 8 is what? Let's be fast. Yeah, good. 3. Then we are told down there that we require 2,000 units of A. So you take 3 times 2,000. That gives us 6,000. That gives us 6,000. Don't know whether you require the working for that, but I've said it's 2,000 times 3. Higher. Then for product B, it is that 2 you divide by 8. This one obviously will give you 4. That will give you 4. So now tell me 4 times 3,000 is what? 4 times 3,000 is 12,000. Then for product C, we have 44. You divide by 8. That is giving us what? 5.5. Now this 5.5, multiply that by 1,800. Multiply that by 1,800. $9,900. So when you do so, this total here that we are going to get, hata tunaweza ifungia yote, we call it the required. So add those 3 totals, those 3 values. This plus this plus this. $27,900. Then you compare with the available. Now the available, we are told by information 1 that we have 25,000 available. 25,000 available. Then from there, you come and compare. You tell us whether we have a surplus or a deficit, and you decide which one will be negative. Now, the deficit will be positive, surplus will be negative, according to the way we have arranged it here. So here we have a difference of 2,900. So that is a deficit. So that confirms to you that for sure, the skilled labor hours is a scarce resource. The scarce resource. Okay. So if that is okay, I want to wrap it. Now, because we just have one scarce resource, drawing a table here. You don't have necessarily to draw a table. Me, I'm drawing because my book is not ruled. So we are using the first principles. The first principles method. We call it the analysis table. The analysis table. So here we have details. And in the details, we start with contribution margin. Contribution margin. That is the first step that we said. Then we get the key factor. Then we get contribution per key factor. Per key factor. Per key factor. And then we have the rank. We have the rank. So we have product A, product B, and product C. B and C. That is how you design it. Remember, contribution margin is what you are dealing with yesterday. It is the price minus variable costs. So all these costs that you can see here in the table, they are variable costs. So tukienda kwa product A, utachukua calculator useme 250 minus 16 minus 24 minus 40 minus 70. That gives you what? That gives us 100. That's the contribution margin. Let's go to product B. We do the same. You say 320 minus 20 minus 32 minus 55. I think I've done 320 minus 20 minus that 2, minus 55, minus 110. You should get 103. Then going to products, yes, I can see that. Mwalimu, I have 460 minus 28, minus 44, minus 70, minus 155. It's 163. 163. So that is how you compute the contribution margins. We did the topic of CVP, so we know how that is done. Haya, tukuje kwa key factor. Key factor is what we already have confirmed as the skilled labor hour. And in our workings, we had the per unit. And you remember when we divided 24 by 8, we got 3 as the key factor per unit. If you want to add, unaweza kuja hapa useme ni per unit, key factor per unit. And then we have the other one, we had gotten 4, and the other one we had gotten 5.5. 5.5. So after that, the contribution per key factor, you get it by dividing the contribution using the key factor. The contribution using the key factor. So it will be 100 divided by 3. That gives us 33.3. 103, you divide by 4. That gives us 25.75. And then 163, you divide by 5.5. That gives us 29.64. 29.64. We have said you divide the contribution by the key factor. Now to rank, you simply look at the highest. The highest becomes number 1. So the highest in this one is here. So this is number 1, this is number 2, and this is number 3. So upon completion of that, you now draw what we call the allocation schedule. We just design it here. The allocation schedule. Below that, or the allocation table. The allocation table or schedule. And this one begins with what we call rank. It begins with what we call rank. It's not very long downward. We just have 3 products. Then we have products. We have products. After that, we have what we call maximum demand. Maximum demand. Maximum demand. Then here we have another subdivision where we have key factor. Key factor, we have per unit. We have the available. Sorry, we have the required. Let's put the required first. The required. And then we have the available. That is in regard to the, then we have units made. Units made. Then again, we have key factor. Now, key factor we have used and we have left, or the remaining. Used and the remaining. So that is the design of the table. So this is rank number 1, number 2, number 3. So once you get there, write the word there so that I pick up from there. Once you have designed the table, write the word there or done. Only one person is finished at that point. Okay, good, good. So this is how you argue. Number 1 is product A. And the maximum demand for A, if you remember, it was 2,000. Was 2,000. And the key factor per unit for A, it is 3 hours. So the number of hours we require is 2 times 3, which is 6,000. But with us, we have the available 25,000. We have the available 25,000. So how many units can we make? We have a whole 25 and we only require 6. So that means we can afford comfortably. So we make all the units that we require. So we make the 2,000, and in so doing, we will have used 6,000. And when you have used 6,000, out of these 25, you are now left with 9,000. You are now left with 9,000. Let's go to the second one. The second product is product C. So product C has a maximum demand of 1,800. And according to our workings, the key factor per unit is 5.5. Oh, sorry, this is 19,000, not 9,000. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Gideon and Green. Now, this 5.5, when you multiply by 1,800, it is giving us 9,900. We had this one in our other table. So if that is what we require, and we have a whole available 19,000, so 19,000 inawekwa hapa. So we can comfortably afford because we have 19 and we just require almost 10,000. So we make the whole 1,800. And then we use 9,900. And after you have used 9,900, from this 1,900, how many are you left with? Utasema 19,000 minus 9,900. How many? Good. I can see we are left with 9,100. You go to product number 3, which is product B. Product B. So the product B, we have a maximum demand of 3,000. A maximum demand of 3,000. So each is taking us 4. So that means we require 12,000. But with us, we have 9,100. So it is very clear. It is very clear that we cannot afford because we require 12, but we have 9. So we need to know how many units we can make. So the how many units we can make will be 9,100. You divide by 4. 9,100, you divide by 4. And that tells that we can afford how many units? 2275. Yes, good. So that 2275, you bring it here. So I've put the working there in case you want to know how that was arrived at. So the key factor that have been used is 9,100, and we are left with 0. We are left with 0. Okay, so that is all. So you can either choose to leave it this way, you can either choose to leave it this way, or you can extract a summary here. You tell us optimal production mix. Optimal production mix. And in this optimal production mix, you can tell us the product. You can tell us the units made. And then you can tell us the contribution. But this one is not very necessary. Once umefika hapo, the examiner has all the rights or the duty to give you the marks, or the marks. So product A, product B, and product C, then because of the contribution, we can have a row for the total. So we are just extracting. For A, we have been able to make the 2,000. B, tumeona tutatengeneza 2275. and C tutatengeneza 1800. So contribution, you now just take these units, these 2000, each one was giving us a contribution of 100. So this gives us 200,000. Then 2275, each giving us 103. So if you multiply by 103, confirm whether you get 234,325. And finally, these 1800, each one is giving us 163. So 1800 times 163 is 293,400. So when you add plus 234,325 plus 200,000, I think, I don't know that I'm correct. Can you confirm? 727,725. Confirm whether that is what you are getting. Okay, good. If you are getting that, that is good. So with that, maximum profit will then be given as contribution, total contribution minus fixed costs. You remember yesterday what we were talking of CMX. CMX. That's this is our CM and this is our X. Yeah, that's the formula we are using yesterday, CMX minus F. So we already know that this is 727, 725 minus the fixed cost. The examiner has told us the fixed cost is 450,000. So tell me how much is the profit? When you less 450, what do you get? What do you get? 277, 725. Yeah, good. So that is the profit that we can get. That is the profit that we can get. Then we are told, suppose that an increase in labor costs, labor rates per hour, or rather there is an increase of to 12 for highly skilled installation labor would provide adequate labor at maximum demand. Determine if it is worthwhile to increase the labor rates. If it is worthwhile to increase the labor rates. So what will happen? We will need to have another working. We need to have another working. We need to have another working. If labor rate increases by 12 minus 8, which is 4 shillings per hour. If labor rate increases by 12 minus 8, that is 4 shillings per hour. we will have incremental labor costs. Incremental labor costs. No. Before we do that, we need to show the product. Ndio tujue tunatoka wapi. We need to have the product. We need to have the product. We have incremental labor costs. Incremental labor costs. Then we need to have new contribution. New contribution margin. Units made. Units made. Yeah, in our working to just be straight. And then contribution. Then contribution. Yeah, we can have a small table. This will be for the first product. The second product here. The third product here. And then we will have the total. We will have the total there. You want to see what happens if you increase the labor by 4 shillings. So product A, B, C, then we have the total. What happens when we increase this? Now, what happens is for product A, which had 3 hours, it will be 3 times 4. That will be 12 shillings. It will now be more expensive by 12 shillings. Product B, which had 4 hours, times 4, it will now be more expensive by 16 shillings. And product C, which had 5.5, multiplied by 4, it will now be expensive by 22 shillings. Be more expensive. So what will be the new contribution? Before the cost increase, A had 100. Now, cost imeongezeka na 12. So it is starting at 88. What are the problems of business people I told you the other day? So profit inarudi chini. Haya, hapa, for product B, it had 103. Now, labor cost imeongezeka by 16. So 103, you less 16. Napata that trader now will have to contend with the 87 shillings. Haya. Here C, we had 163. Imepanda by 22. So 163 minus 22, 141. This is the reason why you hear that the business person, they pass the cost to the consumer. So if they are able to do that, what will happen? Hizi increments wanaongezea kwa price. Naona ile selling price tulikuwa na inaongezewa hapa. So zikiongezewa, their profits remain. Hizi mia, these ones. But if you are not able to increase the price, like what happens in some products, like even in our CPA market, then you as the business person, you bear the costs. And you have now to know how to maintain your costs and your profits. So what happens, the units made, previously we did not have a problem with A, we were still able to make all the 2,000, but we had a problem with B. You see here, we did not get enough time. But now tunaambiwa tukiongezea mishahara, we will get more time and we'll be able to produce everything we require. And how many did we require? We required 3,000. We required 3,000. So we are able to make that. For C, we are able to make our 1,800. So let's multiply. Tuseme now 88 times 2,000. That brings in a contribution of 176,000. Then 87 multiplied by 3,000. That brings in a contribution of 261,000. Then 141 times 1,800. That brings us 253,800. So if you add that plus 261,000 plus 176,000, is giving us 690,800. So that is what will happen. That is what will happen. So if that is what is happening, that is what is happening when we do that, our new maximum profits will now be this contribution, 608,800 minus the fixed cost of 450,000. So if you less 450,000, that gives you 240,800. So you are supposed to compare this profit, this one, and this one, and then you advise. Should they increase the wages or they should not? What do you think? When you compare those two, should they give in to their COTU's demand and the trade unions that watu waongezewe mishahara? What do you think? Yeah, do not increase. Good. That's why you will always find your boss very, very adamant to increase your salary. Very, very adamant. So then you really justify that there will be value added. I want us to look at a question here. That was tested in 2011. The question of June. before I forget, you will do this one on your own. May 2012. May 2012, question 3. May 2012, question 3. You shall do that on your own. I'm looking for June 2011. It's like it's not there in my paper. Yeah, not there in my paper. So you shall just attempt the one that I've given, the same procedure. The same procedure. So I think that's fine. Let us go to December 2006. December 2006. Let me see whether I have those papers. December 2006. It's like, again, I don't have that question. I don't know whether I send you or I give you to copy. Which one is easier? Natumia picture ama. Not taking a good image, right? Okay, I have sent the question. I hope you can be able to see it. Gideon, have you seen it?
Yes, Mwalimu.
Tusome.
.com Furniture Limited makes 3 lampstands. Those details are as follows. We have the historical, current, and future. So maximum sales units, lampstand unit data, selling price, machine time in hours. So additional information. Our machine A has a maximum operating capacity of 1700 hours, while B has maximum operating capacity of 1920 hours. The maximum quantity of timber available is 17,000 meters. Each lampstand requires 2 meters of timber. The cost of timber is 50 per meter. Variable machine overhead cost for machine A and B are estimated at 500 and 600 shillings per machine hour, respectively. Assume that all units produced are sold. Required A, determine which lampstand .com Furniture Limited should produce in the month of January 2007 to maximize profit. B, .com Furniture Limited intends to utilize the surplus hours from lampstand production by considering additional production, which would earn a contribution of 400 and 600 per machine shillings per machine hour for machines A, B, respectively. Determine the lampstand model that should be produced based on this proposal to maximize contribution, and you comment.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you. I'm just modifying another one that I'll give you as an assignment. Let me just say it right away, so that in case we finish it, I don't forget. Good. So, in that one, what we are supposed to do, let me wrap here. I will use the whole board. That is a case of now advanced first principles. Is a case of advanced first principles. And in the case of advanced first principles, we normally draw a table advanced first principles analysis table. We do have details. We have 3 products. The first one is called historical. The second one is called current. And the third one is called future. Those are the three products that we have. So, we have three or two types. Actually, there are three. So we say units made using all units made using all key factor. Let me put it that way, all key factor. So the first key factor that you can see is machine A hours. Machine A hours. So for machine A hours, you can see that historical, rather we are told we have 1700 hours and historical is taking 0.25. So if you take 1700, you divide by 0.25. 1700, you divide by 0.25. That gives you 6,800 units. 6,800 units. If you do the same to current, assume that all these 1,700 hours zitapelekewa current, and each unit of current is taking 0.15. You then realize that 1,700 you divide by 0.15 will give you 11,333. Yeah. And if all these 1,700 hours are dedicated to the making of future, which is taking 0.03. 0.03. So it will be 1,700 divided by 0.03. It is going to take us, is it 0.03 in your workings? Or rather in your paper? Let's change. It's supposed to be 0.3. This one should be 0.3. Should be 0.3, not 0.03. Yeah. So if that is the case, it's 1,700 divided by 0.3. Yeah, it's 5,666. And you don't make it 67 because the seventh one will not be complete. Your seventh one will not be complete. All right, let's go to machine B hours. Machine B hours. So in machine B hours, we also make the same argument. we also make the same argument. That machine B is having 1920 hours. So it's 1920 and historical is taking 0.2. So if you say 1920 divide by 0.2, get yourself 9,600. 9,600. Haya, ukikuja hii ingine 1920, you divide by 0.225. So 1920 divided by 0.225 is 8,533. Then we have 1920 here. You divide by 0.25. To get that, and I respond to this call. Okay, so I hope you have gotten that, 7680. The next scarce resource that is there is TIBA. There is TIBA. Now, TIBA is 17,000. It is 17,000 kila mahali. The meters that are available. But tunaambiwa that each unit consumes 2 meters. 2 meters. So if you divide here by 2, here by 2, here by 2, the answer will be the same. This must be 8,500. 8,500. 8,500. So ukishajua hivyo, that is what you can produce when you have all the units being, all the scarce resource being diverted to one product. The next thing is maximum possible production units. Maximum possible production units, and I want us to call them A. Maximum possible production. So the maximum possible production is always the minimum. It's always the minimum of these three. It is the one, the minimum, ndio itapitia kila mahali ukitosheka. For example, if you take this 6,800, A will be able to produce it. B will be able, because you can see B can produce what? 96, and even TIBA will be able. But if you are to take this TIBA, it will, or if you are to take 8,500, TIBA itatosha, even B will manage that, but A cannot manage 8,500. Na tunataka hii product ipitie all those three sections. All those three sections. So this one is 6,800. This one is 8,500. And this one is 5,666. I hope we have understood that concept. The next thing now, we need to get the selling price. Selling price. So the selling price for historical is 900. This other one is 800. And this other one is 1,000. Then variable cost. Variable cost. So the variable costs, we can start with TIBA, because we are told TIBA is 50 shillings per meter. So that is TIBA. It is 50 times 2. 50 times 2, that would be 100. 50 times 2, that would be 100. And we are subtracting, these are supposed to be subtracted. 50 times 2, that is 100. Then we have overheads. We have overhead that are mentioned in information 3. And we are told in A, it is 500 per hour. So in machine A, I should not have, sorry, let's come back here. You see, I used A here, and we already have A and B here. And I have been telling you, when you're using labels, don't use a letter that is already in existence. So let's cancel this one, cancel that one. Let's use, I will even avoid C because of this one. Let's call it D. Let's call this one D. Let's call that D. Okay, so because of machine A, I think I need to specify machine A. It's always good to specify so that the user of your information does not struggle. So in machine A, the OER is 500. So it is 500 times 0.25. $125. Then 500 times these hours, 0.15. So you say 500 times 0.15. That gives us 75. Now huyu mwingine the same argument. 500 times 0.3. 500 times 0.3. That is 150. 150. Then for machine B, we have 600. at 0.2, the hours. So 600 times 0.2 is 120. Then 600 at 0.225. Is 135. Then we have 600 at 0.25. $150. So those are the variable costs. I hope you are still following me. Hakuna any other variable cost. So let's get contribution margin. So give me the contribution margin for historical. Contribution margin. And I want us to call it E. Want us to call it E. So nangoja kutoka kwako uniambie 900 minus 100 minus 125 minus 120 is what? Yeah, good. Let's go to the next one and do the same. Oh, this is supposed to be 800, not 8,000. This is 800. This is 800, not 8,000. So same 800 minus 100 minus 75 minus 135. You're getting 490. Good. Let's do the same with the last one. 1,000 minus 100 minus 150 minus 150 is 600. So now from there we have total contribution. Total contribution. Now this total contribution, we shall get it as D times E. I don't want us to call it F because of this future. Let us call it G. Let us call it G. So sasa chukua kama hii ya kwanza useme 6,800 times 3.5. You should get 3,774,000. Haya. Huyu mwingine ni 8,500 times 490. It's 4,165,000. Then 566 times 600 is 3,399,600. So that means if we just produce one product, we just produce historical, this is the profit. If we produce current, this is the profit. If we produce future, this is the profit. So there now you decide. There you decide which product. So as you can see, this one is the best. That is the best. But we are not yet done with the question, so we proceed. But you already have answered part A, which was saying determine which Randstad.com Limited should produce in the month of January to maximize. So we already have, but we shall now create a summary of the results. Now proceeding, we are told .com Furniture intends to utilize the surplus hours by considering additional production which would earn that much. Determine which now should be produced. So we continue down there. The table is continuing, but now mine will have to shift here. Mine will have to shift here. I'll be able to divide the space into 3. The table is continuing. So I'm not even labeling because I already have the titles huko juu. So tunaendelea. So let's now look for the surplus hours. So tunaendelea tu hapo chini tuseme surplus hours. Surplus hours. Surplus hours. So in the surplus hours, we start with the machine A. Machine A, the surplus will be like this. We have 1,700 hours. You minus, we said we are going to produce 6,800. Each is taking us 0.25. So let's work that out. Same 1,700 minus 6,800 times 0.25. That is giving us 0. So there is nothing that is remaining. Tukienda kwa current, we still have available 1,700. You minus, now there tulisema we are producing 8,500. And each one is taking us 0.15. 0.15. So it is 1,700 times 0.15. No. Minus 8,500 times 0.15. Make sure you're also giving me the figures. So this one, inatuonyesha tumebakisha extra 425 hours that is unused. Tukikuja hapa 1,700 minus we said we have 5,066 and each one is taking us 0.3. 0.3. So kuja useme 1700 minus 566 times 0.3. Tumebakisha 0.2. So let's go to machine B. Machine B. So machine B, it had a total of 1920. You minus 6,800 units, each taking us 0.2. Each taking us 0.2. That will give us what? 1920 minus 6,800 times 0.2. 560. Then 1920 minus 8,500 times 0.225. So 1920 minus 8,500 times 0.225 is 7.5. And then 1920 minus these ones times 0.25. So 1920 minus 566 times 0.25, 503.5. So those are the hours that are idle. So we need to ask ourselves, what is it that we can do with it? And I told you that's a question that we asked and answered in Destiny. Now that we have some idle space, now that our students are online, what else can we do with this surplus space? You can hire it out and make some more money. Yeah. So now these guys, they have done the same thing. They are saying they can hire these to earn 400 and 600. So hii tunaweza ifunga hapa, tunaweza fungia hiyo because those were hours. Then we come and get extra contribution. Extra contribution. And this extra contribution, tulikuwa na G, I don't want H because of this. I can be confused with one, let's call it J. The extra contribution, we call it J. So in A, we are making 400, and B, we are making 600. So it is 0 times 400 plus 560 times 600. So this will be 560 times 600. That is giving us 336,000. Tukikuja kwa the next one, we have extra 425 hours, each giving us 400. Plus, we have an extra of 7.5, each giving us 600. So utasema 425 times 400 plus 7.5 times 600. You get 174,500. You get 174,500. Tukikuja kwa the last one, we have 0.2 hours, each giving us 400. plus 503.5, each giving us 600. So you'll say 0.2 times 400 plus 503.25, no, 0.5 times 600. 302,180. So that is the extra contribution. So new total contribution. So new total contribution. So the new total contribution, utachukua hii contribution yenye tulikuwa nayo hapa, G, uongezee what you're now getting. Like now in Destiny, they should now get the revenue they were getting from the students. After they have hired out some space, the rent inaongezewa hapa so that you get now the total income. And then you see whether you are better off or not. And that will be the end of our table. So, if you do so, ukianza na hii ya mwisho, because I already have the 302, so niongeza 33,99,600. Get 3,071,780. Then 174,500 plus 41,65,000 is 4,339,500. And then I have 3,774,000 plus 336,000, 4,110,000. So even with those new arrangements, we still retain current. So the summary of the solution, part A, the header stars, which lamp stars should be produced. So you tell them current. And part B, which one? They still retain current. But the other that will change. For future, it is 371 or 71. I transposed 71. Okay. Thank you. So that is how you handle the advanced first principles. And we are saying that even when we go for the extra income, we still prefer to retain. But there are situations like the one nimekutumia ufanye kama assignment, it will change. So hiyo nimekutumia, you just do the same thing. Uipange tu hivi. So only that now sasa hiyo nimekutumia iko na 2 products, hii ilikuwa na 3. So the one I've sent you is even easier. So, and remember you can always set your workings for marking. If not, you can always buy the revision kit at 1,500. So that brings us to the end of today's lesson. I think that's fine. Just thinking how we can fast track time. How we can fast track. Yeah, so what we are morning, guys, tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, after I teach the evening class, I'll send you a video. I'll send you a video so that, yeah, let me see how it will work. I'll see whether I will send you a video or not. If I send you a video, you can be able to do 4 lessons next week instead of 3. Yeah. Yeah. So tomorrow in the evening, I'll send you a video. You watch. That will be continuation of this lesson. So that when we meet in our next lesson on Thursday, we will pick up from there. That will help us fast track time. That is good. Thank you. Nice Sunday.